Hello, good morning. We'll get started in just a minute. Don't remember if it is raining or not outside, but I'm definitely ready for the rain to be over. Ready for some sunny days, maybe some warmer weather. All right. So we still got about maybe 2 more minutes or so before we get going. We've got a lot of recipes to cover today, so looking forward to that. Less talking, more hands-on work in the kitchen. So hopefully this will be something you guys really enjoy. Grab some coffee, grab your breakfast, pull up a chair, plug in your AirPods, whatever it needs to get you here excited and ready for some Friday morning fuel. All right. Just double checking that we have all of our measuring tools, any supplies that I'm gonna need. Give that a rinse. Just wash. All right, good morning. It is almost go time. Almost like a New Year's Eve countdown. Except I'm not going to make a big huzzah about it. All right, we are live. Good morning, those of you who are joining us on Instagram and live. Good morning, those of you who are joining us on Teams. Welcome to Friday Morning Fuel. Whether this is your first chance to check this out or you are a repeat offender, I'm just kidding. Welcome and welcome back. So, first Friday of every month, we do a quick little cooking and education demonstration. Thank you for being here. I'm Coach Mary. I'm going to be taking you through today's Friday Morning Fuel. Now, many of you are already aware because you've been given the heads up that we do, I like to do some seasonal stuff based on time of year, seasons, etc. So you probably have noticed that cookie season, Girl Scout cookie season is happening right now, whether you've seen it at work, out and about. And many of you may have noticed that, yes, indeed, I am wearing my Girl Scout vest. I was a Scout for 12 years, so I had lots of experience with both sales and with just enjoying cookies as well. Did many tables, many door-to-door sales. All those kids who have digital sales now, you guys are just so lucky. But have been there, done that, and would like to draw from that background and inspiration for some of our recipes today. So hope you guys will enjoy some of these. I'm gonna just make one quick adjustment here. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna do my speaking piece first and then we'll dive into our recipes. We have 4 recipes that are inspired by some of our traditional Girl Scout cookie flavors. So looking forward to making those in just a minute. So why did I choose Girl Scout cookies? You know, it seems kind of counterintuitive to our messaging on Friday Morning Fuel. Well, everybody is human. You know, we all enjoy the foods that we like. There are foods that provide a lot of nutrition and a lot of benefits. There are also foods that we just simply enjoy. So they provide a benefit for, I would say, mental and emotional health as well. So both aspects of food are very important and they're going to be very different for the individual. So for today's recipes, not only are we going to adapt the flavors, but I'd like to show you guys how you can adapt some of these flavors and these recipes to modify your nutrition journey. So because it's the beginning of the year, maybe some of you have started on a weight loss journey and are just looking for ways to have some of those lower calorie options for the foods that you still enjoy. Some of you are just still looking to maintain your current weight, maybe looking to just improve certain biomarkers or change body composition. Totally fine. I'll give you some ideas there as well. And then some of you might be trying to build muscle or gain weight. So those are all important, and how we approach those different strategies is going to be very different. I'd also like to just caveat all of this again with that everything is in moderation. So ultimately, it'll come down to your own individual and unique dietary preferences, the journey that you are on, and what's important to you and your health. So some of the products we're going to use today, yes, we would probably classify them as processed because they are sugar-free or they are lower in fat. However, for your journey in this moment, that might be something that applies to you. So hopefully you take something away, even if you don't necessarily enjoy some of the ingredients that we use. Again, all of that can be changed. You can use regular fat options, you can use plant-based, you can use animal-based. That's the idea, is just to show some variety of how you can make it work for you. All right, so when we enjoy some of these foods, so again, talking back to balancing foods that are very healthy and nutritious for us and foods that we enjoy. So many of you are probably familiar with what we call the 80-20 rule, and it talks about moderation within your diet. So the theory is that about 80% of the time, we want to select those foods that are going to be very nutritious. They provide fuel, they provide micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, healthy fats. This is what we want our diet to consist of most of the time. That remaining 20%, however, is kind of that nice little buffer for those foods that you can enjoy. And so let's do some quick math here, because if you're like, maybe this 80-20 thing isn't really thinking about it, or it's not really clicking in. So this is an example I like to use. So if you are somebody like me who eats 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, so in the course of the week, that is 21 opportunities for you to sit down and provide some fuel, some nutrition for your body. Approximately 80% of that is 17 meals. So that means you have 4 remaining meals throughout a week in that example that you could choose to select the foods that you just feel that you're gravitating towards, whether it's emotionally a tough time, you've been going through a stressful week, you're sitting down with friends and family to gather. There could be many circumstances that go into that 20% aspect. But just to give you guys an idea, it's not meant to be super rigid. Maybe you are approaching the end of your journey and you're looking for a very, very specific goal. So maybe tightening the belt is something that's more a better strategy for you. If you're somebody who's just starting out, maybe you've got a longer way to go on your journey. Let's just take it easy. Let's just focus on getting the basics day in and day out, balancing the foods that we need with the foods that we want. All right. With that being said, I'm going to dive into our recipes for today. First, I'm going to take a sip of water. Those of you who are participating as well, please go ahead and rehydrate with me. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got 4 recipes. I have selected some flavors. I tried to give it some variety. I know. Everybody loves their classic, their Thin Mints and their Samoas or Caramel Delights, depending on where you are in the country and what the regional baker is. I went with some of our popular ones, and I went with some of our alternative flavors because personally, I love chocolate. I'm a chocoholic. However, I know that chocolate is not everybody's vibe, so we do have some non-chocolate options for you today. All right, so the first one is a breakfast brownie. So I like to make this on the weekends. It's a little bit more time intensive and involved because of the baking component. In fact, my brownie is already baking and it's got about 15 minutes left in the oven. So you guys will get to see the end result of the brownie towards the end of today's segment. So the brownie is gonna be a take on our Adventureful cookie. So even being out of the game for a number of years now, I was unfamiliar with a lot of the newer cookies and flavors as well. So I had to do a little bit of digging and research. So an Adventureful cookie is described as like a combination between a brownie and a cookie, sometimes called a brookie, depending on the kind of foodie that you are, with chocolate and caramel elements. Great. So For our breakfast brownie today, very easy to be modified and can be done plant-based or animal-based. Our ingredients were simply 1 banana, a little bit on the riper side. That sweetness is really going to help add to the flavor component, and it blends a lot easier. 1 banana, we've got rolled oats, nice and easy, about 2/3 of a cup. I put this into a blender cup, so I like to cut down on dishes as much as possible. I have a Nutra Ninja Bullet, a little cup here. Regular blender could be fine as well. It just makes it easy to throw everything in, blend it, pour it, and then go. So we got our banana, 2/3 a cup of rolled oats, 2/3 of a cup of milk of choice. And I would say you could flex a little bit on the milk depending on the consistency. I put in 2/3 a cup of milk this morning and it looked really, really thick. So you could add more liquid to balance it out. And you could also use a plant-based milk to make it a lighter calorie option as well. To add in for some of that brownie flavor, we added 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, as well as a little bit of sweetener. I feel you could omit this or just modify for taste. I did about a tablespoon of maple syrup. So yes, a little bit more calorically dense, and yes, obviously just straight sugar. You can use any kind of sweetener to modify for your goals, and again, just add a little flavor. That's why I think having a really ripe banana is also going to be beneficial, so you can cut down on some of that sweetener as well. And then optional, I like to add in just a little bit of protein powder. You're going to hear that mentioned a lot today, that I like to add protein powder, but just know that you can omit protein powder in some of these recipes, and there are also swaps that you can use if you are just not someone who tolerates dairy, or maybe because of dietary preferences, you are choosing a more plant-based lifestyle. So absolutely things can be modified to your taste. It might change the consistency, so I've played with this recipe a couple of times. Right now you blend it all up and bake it in the oven, so it's got bacon right now. We'll get the reveal later on. I'm going to top it with a little bit of caramel drizzle, and it's got some chocolate chips baking on top of it as well. All right, so that one's a little less exciting because we're going to come back to it. Let's dive into some of our classic recipes. We're going to go with the Samoa overnight oats. So there are lots of different varieties of overnight oats, and I will absolutely say you will probably need to experiment, because I had to go through so many recipes until I found a consistency that I liked. So if you are at home trying this, or if you decide later that you want to try the recipe that I use here and you don't like it, totally fine. Everybody has different tastes and preferences, and you're just going to have to find out. That's part of the fun, right? Is figuring out what works for you. All right, so for our overnight oats, I'm going to grab our nice little bowl that it's going to set up in. I like to use just a borosilicate glass container. You can use a mason jar, a regular Tupperware, lots of options here. I'm just going to throw everything in and we'll mix it all up. So we're going to start with 1/3 of a cup of Greek yogurt. I'm going to use my food scale to help keep a lot of this stuff straight. Again, it cuts down on using things like additional supplies, less water waste, etc., etc. All right, gonna tear that out. Perfect. So 1/3 a cup of Greek yogurt, approximately anywhere from 75 to 80 grams. I think the exact number is 78 grams, but I'm not super picky when I'm scooping it out. I'm going to be using the Phage Total 0% Greek yogurt. Again, you can absolutely use a different kind of yogurt. Lots of people don't really enjoy the tanginess of Greek yogurt that's in it. That's totally fine. The way it's strained and processed means it's really dense in protein. It's very, very thick. And if that's your vibe, great. If it's not, also fine. And just snag. Excuse me. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to add my 78-ish grams of Greek yogurt. 67. Dollop. Straight from the fridge, so it's still nice and cold here. All right, so right now I've got about 80 grams of Greek yogurt in my bin. I'm gonna set that aside to help add for that Samoa flavor. So I use the term Samoas, that's just what regionally we use. That's what the baker, our supplier, called those cookies as well. They also go by Caramel Delights, depending on where you are in the country and what the baker is. But generally the profile is gonna be a coconut, caramel, chocolate, and then a shortbread cookie as well. So to add a little bit more to that coconut flavor, I'm going to use coconut milk as my milk base in these overnight oats. So I'm going to go with light coconut milk here. All that means is that the fat has been skimmed out. Coconut milk can be very, very high in saturated fat. So if that's something that works for you, if you're on more like a ketogenic diet or maybe vegan or vegetarian diet, perfect. All right, I'm gonna crank it open. Go. So, light coconut milk. You can find this in a couple of places in your grocery store. It's now more commonly available where traditional dairy products are. You can find it in the larger quantities like a half gallon or a quart size. I like to get it on the international foods aisle. You can find it canned. That's good. Sometimes it's a little bit cheaper too. There's a couple of different brands, so definitely experiment with the coconut milk that you like. All right, so we've got 1/3 a cup of Greek yogurt. We're gonna go with 2/3 a cup of milk. So I'm gonna grab my 1/3. Gonna grab my 1/3. See, I was supposed to prep all this stuff before we got going, you guys. All right, here we go. 2/3 coconut milk. Good, that's nice and light, nice and creamy. Good, 1 and 2. Good, lovely. I'm gonna stick this into a container later on and just pop it back in the fridge. So once you do open the cans, definitely store them in the fridge. Same thing with a carton. As they sit in that cooler temperature, the milk solids will start to separate. So if you see it, you're just like, what's this gunk sitting on top? Just stir it up or warm it up. It'll blend back nicely. So we'll come back to that in a bit. All right, time for some oats. So we're gonna use 1/2 a cup of oats. Go. Same thing, I could also use my food scale. In fact, that's what I usually do, is I usually start with the dry ingredients and then go to the wet ones. All right, we've got oats. We've got yogurt to thicken it up, milk for the oats to soak up overnight. We're gonna add in a little bit of chia seeds to help with some of that liquid absorption, but also chia seeds are very high in unsaturated fats, which are good for you. And they have a lot of fiber in them as well. So I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon. And from here, we're probably gonna stir it all up. If you would like to make it a little heavier on the chocolate flavor profile, you could add in a scoop or 2 of cocoa powder. You can also, just like the brownie, you can vary it for sweetness as well. I might go in and add just a tad bit of maple syrup. You can use any sweetener that works for you. All right, give this a little splash. So with the overnight oats, you'll want to prep these ahead of time. They're great for grab and go, but they do need a little prep on that front end here. All right, so I've got my sweetener in. I'm going to give this a stir. Pop that lid on. I find that this sets up in about 2 hours. So if you're somebody who is an early bird and is really on point with their morning routine, you could prep this ahead of time and then just grab it as you're going on your way to work, whether that's physically to an office or maybe just cha-chaing over to your living room office. All right, giving this a nice little stir. So once this sets up, we can top it with our different flavors. So I'll add some shredded coconut, some chocolate chips, and then I did grab a sugar-free caramel sauce. I will go with just a drizzle of that. So I learned something yesterday when I was prepping some of these ingredients and recipes, you guys. So caramel sauce sauce, if you're not familiar, I believe caramel sauce is made from sweetened condensed milk and a couple of other things. So it's very sugar and calorie dense. So I don't know why when I was looking for a sugar-free version that would be any less calorie dense. So with the caramel syrup, we're absolutely going to do just a drizzle because 2 tablespoons still clocks in at 90 calories, even though there is no sugar. So I learned something today. Hopefully you learned something today about that as well. All right, so now that this has stirred up, I like to wait until it has set and thickened, especially things with like coconut, or if you're adding nuts, those things can get soggy as they start to absorb some of that liquid. And I'll share with you guys on our story later today how the oats set up and how it looks with the finished project. All right, so we're gonna close that off, seal it up, pop it into the fridge. Update on our brownie. Our brownie has about 4 minutes remaining. It does take a while to cool. The brownie bakes for about 35 to 40 minutes, which is why I started it ahead of time, and it does take about 10 or 15 minutes to cool. But like most people, I struggle with wanting to eat baked goods as soon as they come right out of the oven, so I have burned my tongue and the roof of my mouth many times trying to enjoy this brownie. So definitely, if you're having a weekend or you're working later in the day and you want this treat, just know that it takes about an hour of everything from prep to bake to cooling down. All right, so we've got our Adventureful brownie that's getting ready to come out. We've already prepped our Smo overnight oats. So last 2 things we're gonna look at. We've got another chocolate recipe. I know the tag-alongs, the chocolate peanut butter patties, are very, very popular with people. And then we're also going to explore our non-chocolate option is going to be the lemonades. So the lemonades are a shortbread wafer cookie that has a strong lemon flavor. And in fact, I think that's what I'd like to start with first. So our lemonades is going to be a yogurt bowl. Again, just like I have said with all of our previous recipes, use the yogurt that works well for you. What's nice about using this one is that this has a base of Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt, again, the way it is strained and processed is very high in protein. So if you are somebody who is anybody, if you're looking for weight loss, if you're looking for maintenance, or if you're looking to build muscle, prioritizing protein is going to be a huge, huge, huge thing for you. All right, this one is fairly simple and easy to set up. We'll be able to enjoy this one right away, unlike some of the other ones that require a little bit more prep. I'm also going to grab one more container so that I can enjoy this later tonight. I'm probably going to have the breakfast brownie for breakfast this morning, and I'll probably have this lemonade bowl later on today. All right, so for our lemonade bowl, we're going to pull out our handy dandy Greek yogurt once more. This time we're going to go with 3/4 cup of yogurt. All right, before I dump my yogurt here, the brownie timer is getting ready to go off, so let me pop that out. It smells so good, you guys. All right, so my brownie, perfect, perfect, perfect. Cool. So I use another one of my borosilicate containers. I just sprayed it all heavily with some nonstick spray. Right now it's set up perfectly and it should come out nicely from the container. It's very hot, so I'm going to go ahead and just pop this over to the side so that it can cool down, and I will enjoy that in a couple of minutes here. All right, let's get back to our lemonades because I realized we were starting to run up on time here. So 3/4 cup of Greek yogurt comes out to, according to my container, 170 grams, which is what I'm going to add to my bowl here. There we go. And sure enough, my food scale turned off right as I went to go dump it. So we're going to say that that's like maybe 50 grams or so. Dump that in. All right, so 3/4 cup, 170 grams. Right off the nutrition label here is only 90 calories and a whopping 18 grams of protein. So very low calorie for that protein trade-off. There we go. 163. All right, 170. Perfect. set that aside for just a moment. So we're going to use two things to enhance the flavor for that lemon profile. So number one, I'm going to be using lemon curd. We're going to go with just a very, very small amount. Again, it's a little bit higher in sugar, but it's going to add a really, really good texture and cut through some of that tanginess of the Greek yogurt. We're also going to be using lemon powder. So lemon powder is a very powerful flavor that you only need a tiny, 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 tiny little bit. So think of like super, super sour candy. That's basically what this is going to add, is that kind of tart sourness, but different from the Greek yogurt here. So I've got 170 grams here of Greek yogurt. I'm going to add in just a tablespoon of lemon curd here. Perfect. And then I'm going to go with just a 1/4 teaspoon of my true lemon powder. You can also add in some vanilla to add some flavoring. And then for that wafer profile, I'm going to crush some graham crackers and just add for a topping. All right, mixing this up. The last one is going to be a kind of different recipe. I do not know how this is going to turn out. Not the lemonade bowl. The lemonade bowl, I've made this many times. I know exactly how this is going to turn out. But the last thing we'll be making is a tag-along protein pudding. So even for as much as I dabble in like alternative baking and like especially goods that have additional protein in them, I am always looking to build more muscle and retain the muscle that I have. So protein is always a priority for me. All right, stir that up. I'm gonna give you guys a nice little taste test here. That's fabulous. So good. Top that with graham cracker later. That'll probably be dessert tonight. All right, so this protein pudding recipe, this was a new one. This one might strike out for us, but again, I will follow up and let you know how it goes. It's really simple as far as ingredients. We're going to be utilizing one pre-made protein drink from the store. We're also going to use some instant pudding mix and then some Cool Whip. So some Cool Whip is going to help add volume without adding a ton of calories. And then for that the peanut butter flavor, I'm going to be using powdered peanut butter, or PB2 if you are somebody who uses this regularly. So the powdered peanut butter is just a really nice option. It has like much less fat than regular peanut butter. 2 tablespoons of this is only about 60 calories versus 2 tablespoons of regular nut butter is anywhere from 180 to about 200 calories here. So we're going to grab our mixing bowl. We've got our protein drink. We're going to go with a chocolate flavor here. All right, so 1 protein drink. We've got 1 package. I went with the sugar-free, fat-free, just Jell-O chocolate pudding mix. Again, a lot of these products, anything that is sugar-free, anything that is fat-free, anything that's been removed from a food generally has something added back into it, either for flavor or shelf stability. So for those of you out there who are trying to maybe clean up your diet, making more wholesome and nutrition choices, that's all right. You don't have to enjoy this recipe. Some people are looking to just find the most bang for their buck, money-wise and calorie-wise. This is probably a recipe for you. All right, so we've got our instant pudding. That smells good. Instant pudding here. I've got Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip comes frozen, so if you're going to make this, definitely thaw it out a little bit. I pulled this out at about 7:30 this morning. We're going to go with 4 ounces of Cool Whip. This is an 8-ounce container, I believe. So quick and dirty, I'm just going to cut it in half and add this back in. All right, so maybe 4 recipes was a little too ambitious today as we are starting to run up on time. Friday Morning Fuel generally goes to about 9:25 Eastern Time, and I see that we are running up on that. So anybody who needs to step away, Thank you for joining. Those of you who have just like the extra, like maybe 3 minutes to stick around, I'd appreciate that. All right. I'm a little questionable about this, you guys. Let's see how this goes. All right, cracking this open. The recipe did specify a protein drink that was about 11 to 12 ounces. This one here is about 15 ounces, so I'm going to try to skim out just a little bit more, or sorry, take just a little bit different approach. Okay, that's like half. I still got to keep going. Good, pop that out. All right. Less is more, right? So we're going to give this a stir up. I am not sure that hand mixing was the way to go here. I think it recommended an electric blender, but I wouldn't do that to you guys. That would probably sound really loud and obnoxious. But the idea is to give everything a nice stir, pour it into some maybe individual serving glasses, some ramekins, mason jars, etc. And then for, oh, that peanut butter topping. You guys, keep me straight here, keep me honest. Our peanut butter. Since I had never made this before, I'm going to hold off and do 1 tablespoon of peanut butter because I'm not sure how, peanut butter powder, excuse me. I'm not sure how well this is going to mix or turn out. Check our story later today for that final result, you guys. All right, peanut butter powder. Here we go. All right, so that's pretty much a wrap for today. We tried to get through 4 recipes. I think that was a little ambitious. I learned my lesson for next time. So let's do a quick recap. Number 1, it is Girl Scout cookie season. If you want to support your scouts, know that you don't only have to buy cookies. You can donate directly to a local troop. That honestly is the better option for them. They make literally less than $1 for every box that they sell. So you donating directly has a much bigger impact on them than buying cookies. So if you feel pressured because you don't want to buy cookies, know that you can always donate. Number 2, it is fine to have the cookies. Everything in moderation. Remember that 80-20 rule? Maybe your takeaway from this was like, Mary, this is just too much to try to make these mock recipes work. So have the real thing. That's totally fine. Make it work for you based on you and your preferences. You guys, I'm going to hand mix. I'm going to get an electric mixer afterwards and mix that up here. When we are talking about food and within the context of somebody's journey, again, somebody who's looking to lose weight is probably going to find options that are lower in calories to fit within their deficit. Totally fine. Some of those lower calorie options, the lemonade bowl, this theoretically, if I can get this to work, would be a nice low calorie option. Both of these clock in at under about 250 calories per serving, so I'll give you guys that recipe later. If you're somebody who's looking to just maintain and just fuel for the activities that you enjoy, I'll breakfast brownie here, great option. If you're somebody who's looking to maybe build a little bit more muscle for their frame, prioritizing some of the heavier calorie ones. So you can actually make easy swaps. I used a lot of things like lighter dairy options, non-fat dairy options. You could go for full fat or higher fat milk products to make that work for you. You could also utilize things like adding more protein. I know I use protein powder in a couple of these today. I added protein powder to my brownie. If you are somebody who maybe you are looking to add a little bit more protein to your diet, but not necessarily adding protein powder, whether cost or taste, flavor, etc., there are other ways that you can add protein to any of these recipes. Number 1, silken tofu, easy to use in the blender. You could also use other plant-based alternatives, include things like pea milk, soy milk, and chickpea flour are all relatively high in protein for a serving. You could also use things like cottage cheese, regular milk, and we use the star of our show today, Greek yogurt. All right, so Thank you guys for hopping on. Check our stories later. I'm going to give you an update on some of these turning out, whether they were A-okay or they were just a big pass. Thank you guys for being here. Check back in next month for Friday Morning Fuel, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a great and wonderful day. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thanks, Mary.
Have a great day, guys. I'll see you later. Here we go. Thank you, guys. Catch you later. Here we go.